Alright, so we're going to go over some of the different ArcGIS maps, SDK for JavaScript examples that have been provided. The goal here is just to show you how to get started with generating fairly simple web maps using the API. We're going to start off in this first video just looking at creating maps and then map views within an HTML file. Okay, so I already built the file. I'm just going to go through and talk about some of the key components. Alright, so this is all in an HTML file. Again, if you wanted, you could put your JavaScript in a separate JS file and then link to it, but I'm not doing that here. I'm just dumping it all in one file just for simplicity. If you're going to have longer scripts or more complicated pages, though, it would make sense to actually break this up into separate files. Okay, so I've got my basic HTML structure here. So I've got a head component, and then a body. Note the body's only one div. So I just have a div with an ID of view div applied to it. Okay, so first thing you're going to need to do if you want to use the API is you're going to have to link to the JavaScript code and also the CSS that's associated with it. So I have a link tab here with that's a style sheet. Here's the path or URL. So that's the CSS associated with the ArcGIS Maps SDK, ArcGIS Maps SDK for JavaScript. And then this is the actual JavaScript. So just quickly, if we go to this, you should be able to see, oops. Try it again. I grabbed the colon or the quote there. Right, so there is basically the code, right? And then this is the same, it's just the CSS. And then there's also a dark style also. I'm just using the light style here. Okay, so that goes in, so the style sheet goes into a link tag, and then the link to the JavaScript goes inside of a script tag. All right, so that's in the head. Here I'm just applying some styles to this div. So basically the div, which is basically the entire page in this case, so the entire viewport, has no padding, no margin, and basically fills the entire page. Okay, and then inside of the script tag, which is also again inside of the head there, I'm setting up the map and then the map view. Okay, so this may look a little bit different if you're used to just kind of base vanilla JavaScript, and that's because this API makes use of the Dojo framework. So we have this require, I guess it's a function here, and it has as an array some modules that you're calling in. So these are known as asynchronous module definition, or AMD. Links, and they're associated, they're used through the Dojo framework. The key thing is if you want to use any functionality from the different modules of the JavaScript API, you need to link to those modules here. So I'm linking to the map module and then this map view within the views module. And then inside of this callback function, you have to list those out in the same order. So I have map and then map view. Okay, and then we open this up to specify what happens here within that function. So there's effectively only two components in this first example. So we have we're creating a constant variable map, and we're creating it with this I guess it's a constructor method. That's why we're using new here, and all we're doing is specifying a base map. So I have a hybrid base map. And then we are creating a view. So this is the actual map, and then this is like the viewport that holds the map. Note that the container is referenced using the ID. So down here we use this view div ID, and we're linking to that. So the view div is going to hold the map object, and I'm just setting a center and a zoom level, and that's it. So it's pretty simple. So let's just play around with this for a second. So I've got this already opened here in a live preview. Anyway, it's active. Let's just play around with some of the settings. So again, the zoom levels, the larger the number, the more zoomed in. So I'm just going to change that to 12. So that zoomed it in a bit. Obviously, we can change the center here. I'm just hitting Control S to update. So I just moved it over a bit. Zoom out a little bit. Right. So anyway, those are the initial loading, extent, and the center coordinates as a longitude, latitude provided as an array. Another thing worth noting is under base map here, we can change this to a different base map. I'm just going to pull this over. So I've got the documentation up here for this the map class. So somewhere in this documentation there's a list of base maps. So here we go. So here's a list of base maps. So let's just change this. We'll change this from hybrid to, let's just do OSM standard and see what happens. Let's move this back over so we can see the map. Again, Control S. Oh, it's asking me to log in. I'm going to do that real quick. All right, so now we're using the OSM standard base map there. So anyway, there's lots of options for base maps. You can see a whole list of them here in the API documentation. These are ones that you have to have an API key for, and then these are ones that you don't. So if I would change this to something else, let me do terrain. Let's see what that looks like. So there's a terrain base map. Okay, that's it. So that's pretty much it. So inside of the script, we basically have this require function here. This is kind of Dojo framework related syntax, calling our modules, setting up this callback function, listing the modules within there that we're going to use. Again, they have to be in the same order as they're called here. And then we're specifying a map, and then we're adding that map to a view, which is associated with this div on the page, which we're all linking up using this view div ID selector.